Hi, friends. Host Eric here, host Talking with Famous People. And yep, looks like we got a little post-type police cleaning up to do, as sometimes happens. So, let me start this by simply saying, when I type police people, I am not typing them. For me to type somebody, I need to spend an hour talking to them. I need to ask them a bunch of questions. I need to verify things. People's affect can be misleading, etc., etc. Okay? But we should also remember that fundamentally, attentional manners are ways of paying attention. And the type we are is not something that affords us certain magical abilities or anything. It's simply a description of where our attentional configuration makes us manifest a lot too much of meh and a lot too little of meh. Right? It's important to remember that being an any dom means exactly the same thing as being NI fifth, means exactly the same thing as being SE eighth, means exactly the same thing as being SI fourth. So when we talk about, well, is that your fourth slot function, your eighth slot? It's part of being an any dom, right? If you're an actual any dom. So Boba Fett wanted to share with me something that Melissa Talks had apparently written at some point in response to the Type Police video that we did, in which we actually didn't put her in the slammer. But I think I felt afterwards as though we should have. Um, this is what she said. This past week has not been fun. Tuesday, I was publicly harassed about identifying with being ENTP. Wednesday, I was threatened in Discord DMs by another type YouTuber to produce spicy content. Threatened to produce spicy content? All about me, and of course, we cannot forget which YouTuber catapulted this online harassment my way this week. Lady, I did not catapult any harassment your way. I type policed you. Now, let's continue with her statements here. As an ESP, I am finding it rather concerning these certain individuals who claim to be ENTPs are running out of ideas to discuss and are now focusing on people. I mean, okay, so there's that. I'm sure your NE can be stimulated by something new if you yourself truly are an ENTP. Shots fired. I wish you all the best with your growth arc. I appreciate the time you forced me to take a step back from being online this week. I didn't force you to do that. Boy, you sure are attributing your choices to me a lot. Note when Boba Fett started talking about you having some response, I was like, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to read it, I don't want to look at it. Chances are, if I triggered her or made her feel bad, it's gonna make me feel bad. I don't want to hear about it. When he put this shit up here, I was just like, oh my god. I don't feel bad anymore. Because all of this stuff that you're saying, I mean, look, if I were the one who were type policed, the first thing I would say to myself is, Eric, would you respond the same way to this if they had confirmed your type that you thought you were? And no, you probably would be, you respond differently. Okay, well, what reason do I have to think I'm that? It's like, in other words, if I had some doubt, it might bother me. I've had a million people tell me I'm not an EHP, including you right now. It's water off my back because the sun does, in fact, rise in the east and set in the west. So I don't bother getting upset about those. When people say the sun rises in the west, I say, no, it doesn't, but whatever. There's no point in arguing it, right? I'm sure your NE can be stimulated by something new if you are truly yourself an ENTP. Shots fired. See, those aren't shots fired. It's projection and butthurt being fired. I wish you all the best in your growth arc. I don't have a growth arc. I'm not growing, okay? The truth isn't growth. It's just better than the alternative, right? There's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to grow. Why does everybody think they need to grow all the time? I inevitably will grow if I'm a positive, healthy, honest person who can deal with himself in an honest fashion and be objective in my calculi about myself. I will inevitably grow. I get that it is very challenging for somebody who's got a channel where she identifies herself as an ENTP, talks about ENTPs, to be publicly called out and said, you're not an ENTP probably. That's a shock to the system for sure. But you know, it's a moment, right? It's like you've got to make a decision. Do you want to be honest about your own assessment of self? If you want to be honest about it, then compare your extroverted intuition against an actual extroverted intuition dominant and an actual side-by-side skills comparison. Compare your TI against somebody who's actually TI tool and see if they match up the same. It's not like it can't be resolved. I'm not a person who's married to the notion that you're not an ENTP. If I were to type you and, in fact, your extroverted intuition were that of an intuitive and not third slot, which it appears to be, then I would say, my bad, I was wrong. I guess your affect's really you're still getting the hang of being relaxed and freestyling. You know, like I'm freestyling this, right? And that's what I have to conclude. It's just you're taking it. It takes a while to get used to it, but the thing is, this response here, there's nothing at all about your response to my type policing you that suggests remotely that you have FE in the front stack. This is all FI stuff. So first you talk about your feelings and how and the hyperbolic language you use, because somebody's calling bullshit on you doesn't mean you're being attacked or harassed. It means you've made a bunch of public statements about who you are, what type you are, and therefore your personal experiential knowledge about what it means to be that type, and people are calling you out on your bullshit. That's not harassment. That's good citizenship. That's good. It's people doing their civic duty to be honest in their discourse with you, about you, and to you. They don't think you're an ENTP, and I don't either. The thing is, I didn't run out of shit to do, okay? People have been clamoring for me to bring back Type Police for ages, and among the names I heard most frequently was yours. So, finally, in a life I could find the moment when I'm like, fine, I'll make some fucking Type Police. I'll make a couple Type Police. Fine. We'll stop this thing right now and make a couple Type Police. After Boba Fett said for the 50th time, why did I stop making them in the first place? I hate this shit. It's like, man, I don't mean to fuck with your life, but you're not an ENTP. Unless and until skills tests, actual conversation, typing interview or something convinces me otherwise, no ENTP would write this garbage. Right? It's not even well written. It's like, Wednesday, I was threatened in Discord DMs by another type YouTuber to produce spicy content all about you. What do you mean they threatened to do that to you? Or they say, if you don't, I will make this spicy content about you? Can you imagine that ever working on me? Can you imagine me ever saying I've been threatened that somebody's going to make spicy content about me? No, that's silly. That's not a real thing that happens, right? Of course, we cannot forget which YouTuber catapulted this online. I did not catapult any online harassment. If I cast doubt on your type, that's probably a good thing, because I don't think you are the type you claim to be. And I don't want you to be misrepresenting the type like C.S. Joseph is, right? We all know C.S. Joseph's no ENTP, but he calls himself one. He's gotten a lot of people confused. I've encountered a lot of these people in typing sessions who've been confused by typology misinformation. I assume yours is not ill-intended. You probably just didn't know. You know, if you're NI-polar or something, you misunderstand the whole concept of it. It's like somebody who's NI-polar is going to be like, okay, well, if I'm this type, then I get these attributes that come with it or something. That's just totally back-ass for is not how it works at all. It's because my attention is continually addressing words on the playing field, so to speak, and wanting to make sure that every point's answered and wanting to make sure that there's no trash left out on the table. And this is all trash left on my table, right? I was going to ignore it, but Boba Fett insisted to put it in front of my eyes. So the thing is, am I running out of ideas to discuss? No. That's a foreign concept. So I started making type police videos again? Yeah. And if I had said you were an ENTP, would you be all like, oh, well, I guess you forgotten about things you used to talk about. You're got other things to talk about, so you're talking about people. I talk about people all the time. My channel's called Talking with Famous People, for fuck's sake. Yeah, I do have plenty of drama. YouTube drama. Talking about people, getting in fights, arguments, whatever. People talking shit. There's like, Taylor's, my good friend Taylor, ESTP, right? His like top performing video, the title of it is like Host Eric, Narcissist Creep or something like that. He was mad at me at the time. I get it, you know. He was wrong. I was right, but it doesn't bother me that he still has that video up. I don't give a fuck. Why would I care? People can evaluate me for themselves. I'm not worried about somebody else defaming me because all you have to do is spend any time listening to me and it's obvious to make perfectly good sense and better sense than anybody else. So, you know, as far as you wishing me the best of my growth arc, I don't want your good wishes for my growth arc, okay? You can take your own growth arc and shove it up your ass. How about that? Melissa talks. Instead of talking, Melissa, why don't you shove your growth arc up your ass? How about that? That'll help your butthole to do some talking with your growth arc. I appreciate the time you forced me. I did not force you to do shit, woman. You did not have to watch that video. Nobody forced you to watch my Type Police video. Nobody forced you to get away from the internet because you didn't like the things that people were saying to you. Right? You can not listen to them, block them, ignore them. You could not care. You could win the argument, which you made zero effort to do here. You know, ideation is not thinking of different places you can go on vacation. It's not, it's not like saying three slightly different variations of the same sentence. It's not explaining things you've learned someplace, necessarily. Although you incorporate plenty of things you've learned in what you're explaining. Extrovert intuition is a function that is fundamentally insufferable. I'm always ideating good ideas, not all the ideas are good, but like intuitively robust ideation. Some of it bullshit, some of it great, whatever. But the point is, it's all intuitively robust and intellectually robust. There's not a shred of that anywhere in these comments from you, nor your channel. So, there's no reason to think you're an ENTP. You may still turn out to be one. If I were to type you and you test out as one, you test out as one, you know? I'm not afraid to say I'm wrong if I'm wrong. But this response of yours is not a TI response to anything. This is a very strongly FI response. And the notion that you're trying to blame other people for your decision to stay away from the internet because you don't like the words they said, I mean, that would be offensive to any self-respecting ENTP. That notion. We have to take responsibility for our own actions and feelings. Granted, if somebody's bullying you or being abusive, then they have their own accountability issues, right? But YouTube makes it really easy to block, ignore, etc. And besides that, in my instance, I can honestly tell you, I was not thinking about you or your feelings one bit. Maybe I should have been, but I wasn't. I had no idea who you were, except everybody kept saying type police. And if you think I'm not an ENTP, well, that's fine. You don't have to think I'm an ENTP, but you actually do think I am one. And you're trying to cast aspersion on the notion is just the most wildly ill-advised grasping at straws. So the reason it was wildly ill-advised, of course, is because it elicited this response video, which it took me a second to even remember who they were talking about when someone was saying this woman got her feelings all hurt. I don't care. Okay? I'm done caring about everybody getting all butthurt. What I care about is the much more harmful reality of misinformation, people mistyping themselves, misrepresenting typology as mushy or subjective or you don't know me, and not getting anything and then talking about it on the internet like they do. That's fucking horrible. That makes my job so much harder. But that's fine. I don't care about that. But it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Please don't say sleep, blast, and play. For God's... Like, that cancer's infested everything. I'm not saying you're guilty of that. You seem like a perfectly standard, middle-of-the-road MBTI kind of practitioner person, you know? Just type descriptions and sort of reveling in the sexy qualities of the type description you've identified with. Let me tell you, to be honest, Melissa Talks, you do not want to be like me. I don't know why anybody would. Being an ENTP, it has its moments, but it's being an actual ENTP means never really knowing what you want, never really knowing what you want to do, rarely doing what you ought to do, pissing people off all the time, not being able to stick to anything, putting up random shit from type police videos to typing sessions to videos about typology to videos about philosophy to videos about aesthetics to videos in which I read my own poetry to songs to raps to every kind of video you can imagine I've made and put up on this channel. Because I can't stick to stuff. I can't be just one thing. And it's like censors need to respect the fact that they get everything. All we get is this useless thing called understanding better, being more intuitive. And, for people who are like second slot NE, they are crippled by it. Even eighth slot SE, for me, it is not easy to be an intuitard. You should have seen the comedy of errors as Rachel and I tried to go take a walk today. We were going to go walk around Pasadena. First, I walked out and I realized I didn't have my cigarettes. I didn't have my sunglasses. I'm like, God, I could have sworn I had them. I just said I had them in my hand. I walked again. Not only did I not have my sunglasses, I also didn't have my phone. So I get my phone and my sunglasses and we go back out to the car. And then we're like, oh, you know what? It's actually pretty cold. We should go inside and change clothes. So when we came back inside, we changed clothes. And then we walked out to the car again. I think I might have forgotten something again. I had to come back again to get it. And then we got to the car and we're driving up towards Pasadena. And I call my friend Dave. I'm like, hey, what's going on? You want to maybe go get some food or whatever? We have a nice chat. And then my phone goes bling, bling, bling. Don't forget your typing session in 30 minutes, Eric. I'm like, oh my fucking God. Thank God I was so intuitarded about leaving the house, or I would have been too far away to get back in time, So it's is it easy being an ENTP? No, it's not easy. It is fun, kind of, but it's a lot of shame, really, a lot of shame and anxiety, a lot of frustration, and shit like this, right? I mean, you read this, you're clearly not an ENTP, and yet I'm getting accused of catapulting shit into your life or something. The fuck I did, woman. You're publicly making statements about a personality type, claiming to be that type, an expert on that type, disseminating information about it. You are absolutely subject to public critique. If you don't get that, I don't know what to do with you. That's just, I mean, then you're just a bad person. Not just entirely wrong about your interpretation of me and this, and obviously very FI, but if you don't get that claiming to be an expert on something, making public statements about that, disseminating information, subjects you to public critique, then you're not only not an ENTP, you're also a bad human being. Because you don't care what damage you do. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to take you a bit to come to terms with the fact that you've had yourself mistyped. Well, that's okay. I mean, I get it. I've never had the experience myself, but I've seen people wrestle with having the wrong type for a while before finally figuring it out. And it, for certain, depends on the type of person you are, but some people it's really important. Anyway, so yeah, that's my response to your bullshit, and I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, but you're gonna have to grow a thicker skin than that if you want to be on YouTube. That's the bottom line.